put it bluntly.
Accessibility podcast called To Put It Bluntly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of To Put It Bluntly. Just putting that out there nice and early after last week's debacle. I am your host, or one of the hosts rather, Cameron, and I am joined by my co-host as ever, Mr. Mathew Allcock, also known as the Wobbly Gamer. How are you, sir?
I am good, sir. Are you glad to be back to take control of the chaos that ensured last week without you being here?
Yeah, it was fun chaos though, so you know, I will give you that. It was really fun chaos, but yeah, don't do it again.
I won't. Sorry.
I'll be serious. No, but anyway, yeah, that was really good. We're joined by a guest, as always, except for the first episode of each season. That's how this works. And our guest is a very, very cool person who will now introduce himself.
So hi, my name is Corey Brotherson. I am a writer, editor, creative consultant across the variety of industries. So games, films, comics, prose, basically anything, any medium that will take my writing craft, I will join on and happily work for them. So yeah, I've been writing professionally now for 24 years, which is a ridiculously long time. I feel very old in this very relatively young games industry as well. I have focused primarily within the games industry throughout my career, but I have been doing a lot of other stuff, like I said, in terms of other mediums. So hopefully it's something that I'll be able to continue doing until I can retire and I'm grey and old. In fact, I'm really kind of pretty much grey as it stands. So
yeah, I found a white day in my beard
Hold
this
on.
morning, so
I'm
that's
just going
my
to sit
life.
here and say, you said you've been doing it professionally 24 years. I'm going to say now, you look very good for your age then. Cause
I was going to say,
yeah.
you started when you were 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on, how old are you when you started? 4, 5? Yeah.
You're both too kind, thank you. No, I am of middle age, shall we say.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk to Corey about his, career, but first off, as we do, we start with what have everybody been playing, so I'll start with Wobbles this week. Wobbles, what have you been playing?
It's been a quiet week. I haven't streamed because I've been actually working and doing wobbly gamer bits.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've just kind of plodded along with Kingdom Come 2 when I have streamed, and a group of us have been playing Return to Moria again because that's had quite a few updates in between the last playthrough of it, and just enjoying that, and FC as always. And
Yep.
I've been watching TV a bit more this week because we've had Daredevil was kind of dropped yesterday, so I've watched the first episode of Daredevil, and just kind of we had a family wedding. It's been a bit of a busy week. Spent some time with little man, and yeah, it's been nice.
Corey, yourself?
So there are two aspects, I guess, to this question. The first one is I've been playing Balatro recently.
Oh god, you're falling down that rabbit hole of it.
Oh, this is.
God,
Yeah,
Wobbles, they've claimed another one.
Well, so I've got a self-confessed addiction a little bit to buying FIFA points. It's not an addiction at all. It's just what we make the joke of. And Cameron turned around to me and was like, "Don't play Balatro because you don't need another card addiction. Don't do it." And I haven't.
It's not money involved.
I haven't downloaded it, and I've avoided it like the plague because I know I don't need another card game like I do on Ultimate Team, and I'm just like, no, because I will not stop playing it. And everyone's telling me, "Oh, you need to play it. It's really good." And now you've added again to that list of people that keep saying you need to play it. It's really good.
It is. It's excellent. Yeah. It scratches a lot of itches that I have when it comes to certain games that I really enjoy. And I got into it really late. I mean, I only started playing it. It was probably a couple months ago, which is shameful, really. So there's a reason behind that. I was moving house late last year. And there were lots of family things that are coming up as well, lots of family issues, and that kind of changed a lot of my life. And I was between work and the family issues and moving house and buying my first house as well. It was just chaos in my life, and playing games was very, very difficult to kind of to fit in. Yeah. And the stupid thing is, and it's like I'm a member of BAFTA, and so I get access to a lot of games in terms of because I've been doing BAFTA Game Awards judging for the last 4 ones, and I didn't get to do this year's one because I just didn't have time to play the games. so I have to abstain my vote from there, which is probably appropriate for reasons we'll get into a bit later on. But Balatro is one of those games where I was like, okay, I have enough time just to squeeze in a couple minutes of gameplay here and there, and I'll sit down, I'll start to run it. It'll take me 15 minutes to get to a run before I kind of absolutely, screw it up. But game's wonderful. Really, really enjoying that. The other game that I've played, and this is one of the very few games I get to play, because ironically, even though I'm in the games industry, I don't get to play many games, is Blades of Fire, which was only announced effectively last week, the week before. The new action adventure game that Mercury Steam's developing, 505 Games is publishing, and I was at a press event for that Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. So I got to play that. That's actually embargoed until I think tomorrow. The embargo drops. So
yeah, I don't think it's out till Monday. So
right, okay. So I mean, I can basically say, I mean, I've written a blog for PlayStation on it as well. But I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a very fun action adventure with kind of a level of kind of a levels of Soulsborne kind of elements in it, in terms of like the stamina meter and making sure that you can't just go in just hammering the button, just button mashing your way through enemies. There's a very deep level of strategy involved, and there's lots of RPG elements in terms of how you can craft and forge your blade and your weapons, and there's lots of different variations of where you can craft and forge your blades as well. So being able to have a kind of first hands-on with that with the rest of the press has been fantastic. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that as well. So those are the only two games that I've had chance and time to play. And one of them was because I had to work on, kind of do a bit of work on that game as well. But that is my life these days.
Yeah. As far as me, just before I went away, I started Lost Records Bloom and Rage, Tape 1, which is from the original Life is Strange people. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's targeted me, being 4 teenage girls in the mid-90s. I don't think I'm the target audience, but I did really enjoy it. I like Life is Strange, them sort of games where you choose something and then it pays off later down the line. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. I wrote a review for Thumb Culture as well. So that's out on this site now. And I played one of them cheap games you can buy on PlayStation called Draw the Line, I think it's called, where they show you a shape and you have to draw shape, but you only have like 8 directions, so you can go diagonal, and it's like all patterns. It starts off easy with like a square, and then you draw in 30, 40 different lines for the shapes. That was, something to pass the time, listen to a podcast. But the main thing I've been playing is Wallace and Gromit Power Wash Simulator. DLC.
Cameron's true love of video games is Power Wash Simulator. It's
I love Power Wash. So I won't spoil it. Well, I won't spoil it for everyone who wants to play it, but I've done 2 of the maps so far, and I've got another 3 to go. So yeah, other than that, really, it's been quite weak. WWE 2K25 is out tomorrow as of recording for people who pay extra, which I did. I paid extra. So yeah, that's all I've been playing. Yeah, I think we're done. Wallace?
Yeah, no, yeah. So
Go with the first question.
We will hand over now to our guest, who has introduced himself ever so slightly. Over to you, Corey. So, like I always say, who is Corey?
Oh, wow. That's a multifaceted question.
Yeah, it's a very multifaceted question. That's why I do it, because everyone's like, what do you mean, who am I? Yeah.
Oh, I'm a very tired gamer, I think, is usually the succinct answer to that. But yeah, I am a 40-something writer, hails from Birmingham, currently living in Birmingham as well, in fact. I moved back to Birmingham a few years ago with my wife. So without getting ahead of myself too much, so I started off as a gamer back in the 1980s. I think my first console was the Atari 2600. I think that's what my parents got me, and that kind of started the obsession essentially. So I was really going to game it from there. I ended up adopting my uncle's Amstrad CPC 464. So that kind
Wobbles is lost already.
Yeah.
I can't even see him, and I know he's lost.
Yeah.
Definitely going back some years, because it was like, if it was, I mean, as home computers go, it was one of those weird ones where it's like you had the Spectrum, the Sinclair Spectrum, which I think a lot of people know about, and then you had the Commodore 64, and in between you had the Amstrad, which was kind of not as popular as either, a little bit more powerful than the Spectrum, but in some respects, but still very much a nice alternative to those other two home PCs, as they were, essentially home computers. And from there on, it was just kind of like me just enjoying games. Going from there, my next console, I think, was actually the Sega Game Gear after that point. And I was just kind of going through a phase of just loving games. And I think I was when I was about 11 years old. I amassed something like hundreds of video game magazines, you know, Mean Machines and Amstrad Action,
Love that.
CVG. So all these amazing video game magazines are there. And I think I was about 11 years old when I realized that there were actually people that were writing these magazines, that were putting these things together. And I thought, well, maybe I could become like a video game journalist in that respect. So that became my sole goal. I say sole goal. I wanted to be a writer in general, but I didn't know how to become a fiction writer, and I didn't know that you could become a video game writer, because back then there wasn't really many people talking about the craft of video game writing. And this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I kind of focused on becoming a video game journalist as like my gateway into the games industry, essentially. And ended up studying language and literature, and then went on to do an MA in journalism, because no one could tell me how to become a video game journalist. And a lot of people in the games industry who were journalists were saying, we never had a formal education in writing as such. We were just kind of like, we spoke to somebody, I was good at writing, I got a job, sort of thing. So I thought to myself, well, if I get a master's in journalism, then that should hopefully put me ahead of like most of the people applying for these sort of jobs if they're not got a formal education.
Yeah.
And so I pretended that I wanted to become a regular journalist for a while. And then when my masters was had the opportunity to send me on a placement, I looked for various video game magazines and websites to get my placement done at. And this was at Bournemouth University when I was doing my masters. And the aim was to actually join a publisher called Highbury Publishing, which was based in Bournemouth. And didn't have any space for me. But I found out later, to the vast irony, which is very much a pillar of my life, that there was a video game website called Games Domain based in Birmingham. So I'd moved away from Birmingham only to find out that there was a video game website 10 minutes away from where I lived that I could go and join. So I applied for them, and they actually accepted me for a placement. And when I finished my master's, they liked my work so much, and the position had opened up, that I jumped straight into a role before I even got my dissertation results, to go into work at Games Domain. So I ended up becoming a games journalist pretty much straight off the bat, after leaving my degree. And so I became a games journalist for about 2 years at Games Domain. Then Games Domain got bought by Yahoo. I was given the choice of leaving Games Domain or moving to London to work with Yahoo on Games Domain, essentially what would be called Games Domain still. And so I moved to London, and was there at Yahoo for about a year, which was somewhat catastrophic, to be honest with you. Lots of things happened there which weren't necessarily the plan of Yahoo for what they had for Games Domain, without me getting into the details, which could potentially leave me open to legal consequences. It didn't quite. There was divisions of Games Domain of Yahoo which were basically wanted to go in one direction, and there was another division that wanted to go in another direction. And the other direction won, which was not the direction that I was kind of pitched on when I was told to come along to work for Yahoo Games Domain. So eventually I left. Between that and a lot of other circumstances at the time in my personal life, I was pretty much a broken person. So I ended up moving back to Birmingham, did freelancing for a couple of years, which ended up me working for Eurogamer for a period of time, and a couple other kind of websites, and some freelance work for EA and Activision and stuff like that, just doing kind of more content production stuff as well. And then Eurogamer offered me a full-time job, and I said no, because I was enjoying my freelance life too much. And they said, okay, fine. So, and they stopped giving me work, which just ended up bottoming like all the work that I was doing in the end. That just kind of everything turned direction basically from that point onwards. So I was losing a lot of work. I didn't really have much money. I started working in fiction as well. I started writing my own comic books. I got hired to write for a couple comic book publishers as well. But eventually it was just like, I can't live off what I'm earning right now. I'm going to have to do something about it. And thankfully, my friend at PlayStation said, there is a job opening here. You know, why don't you apply for it as a content producer? And so, so I did. I went through a very, very quick interview process and managed to get the job and moved back to London from Birmingham. And basically was there for 12 years as a content producer for PlayStation, which was amazing because I got to see, you know, the opening parts of PlayStation blog. I got to see the transition between PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, working as part of the content team and marketing team for PlayStation 4. You know, got to see the rise and fall of PlayStation Vita and kind of the initial opening of the VR era and everything that came with that.
Just for those that might not know, what does a content producer do?
So a content producer is it's a very fancy term for what is essentially an editorial writer. So joining PlayStation, I basically was writing for PlayStation.com. So I was writing news, features, editorial, going on press trips and interviewing people, and writing what we call content pages, which is effectively the game pages for all the games that are on PlayStation. So I was a part of a team that would write those pages. And that kind of effectively evolved into more marketing work. So again, without going into stuff which I shouldn't talk about because of legal things.
Yeah, we get it.
yeah.
And NDAs aren't cheap. Let's put it that way.
No. They're really, really not. I'm a freelance. I'm a self-employed freelance writer, so you know, I wouldn't have to fight for very long. But yeah, without going into too much stuff which I can't talk about, it's really you're within the inner workings of PlayStation itself. So you get to see a lot of stuff. You get to talk to the people who are, you know, very, very high up in the company. You know, talking to them just on a day-to-day basis sometimes. If you're not interviewing them, if you're just like running into them in the canteen or what have you. But being part of that massive machine and being part of launch phases and writing copy specifically geared around like specific games, you know, whether it's Naughty Dog game or a Guerrilla game or, you know, the launch of PlayStation 4, I was a part of that whole thing, which was amazing in itself and really kind of, I'm quite grateful to be part of that. I think over a period of time, though, I realized that I wanted to kind of do more narrative stuff as well. Because at that point, I'd been working within editorial and content for well over 10 years. And that was something which was a dream of mine. And I'd managed to fulfill that part of the dream, like, you know, working both as an independent writer for Games Domain, working as a second party, essentially, for Yahoo, which was very much in between, you know, first party stuff of like PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, and an individual journalist, and then working for a first party in PlayStation. And this was beyond my wildest dreams at that point. And I really kind of found a point where I was just like, I wanted to be able to move more into fiction and merge the comic books that I was writing with the video games industry. So at that point, it was very much, can I write games? I don't know how to write games. Maybe I can try and figure a way to kind of get into that sphere. And after a couple of close calls with very large companies, eventually I was left with a decision to leave PlayStation and pursue my own kind of path, mainly because I was working on Windrush Tales at the time, the interactive adventure game about the Windrush generation, of which my parents and grandparents are part of. Kind of almost like a text-based adventure game, essentially, which Shella Ramanan had the original idea to want to create this game around Windrush. And she approached me and asked me if I was interested in joining her in creating a game for that. And I said, yeah, absolutely, yes. And this was just before the Windrush scandal happened. And basically, as a result of that, of working on that game or starting to work on that game, PlayStation were like, yeah, you can't work on your own game while you're working for us. Because it's effectively a conflict of interest. So at the time my wife was looking for a job as well, and so I met my wife at PlayStation, and PlayStation gave me a lot of opportunities and changed my entire life. I met really great friends there, but at that point it was like my wife had found a job back in my home in Birmingham again, and PlayStation said I couldn't work on my own game, so I thought, let me use this opportunity to maybe take the next step in my career, and so I left PlayStation to become a narrative designer of some sort, and ended up moving back to Birmingham, where I've been ever since, essentially, and been working in narrative design at that point. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a real journey
Yeah.
to get
Like
to where I am.
if you say to most people, you got a job at PlayStation and you want to leave it for your dreams. I think most people would probably, stick with the safe option, but you put yourself out there, put your faith in your work, and well, things seem to be going well. As you just said, you bought a house, so people who are not in such a successful position don't buy houses. I certainly can't afford a house.
It's, I feel I'm very, very fortunate. I will say this: do not attempt to buy a house when you're self-employed. It is the most stressful thing to do. And if my wife wasn't fully employed, she works in finance. There's no chance I would have been able anywhere near to be able to do what I've done last year. I was very fortunate as well because I'd got picked up by, I'm represented by a company called Lynx, which represents video game writers and occasional voice actors. And they got me a gig at a NDA place to do some narrative design / writing, and that allowed me to have the stability to actually kind of get to a point where mortgage applications were a little bit less hairy as a result. But yeah, and then I was made redundant a couple of years ago when I was working for what was then called Silver Rain Games, which is now Surgent Studios, which created Tales of Kanzura Zar. And if I'd applied during that period of time, I probably would have been in a better position and it would have been less stressful. But I also know that the games industry is in a horrible place at this moment in time and has been for the last 2 years. So being self-employed, but having enough work to allow myself to contribute towards a mortgage application with my wife, I'm exceptionally grateful and very, very kind of appreciative to have the opportunity to do that. But like I say, I am in my middle age. I have been lucky enough to make some savings to allow me to do that in the first place for over 40 years. But at the same time, I'm still very, very grateful and very appreciative to get to that point. Now I just need to keep up my mortgage payments, which is scary in itself.
That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every day is a challenge.
So as you said, you just touched on you worked Surgeon Studios, so that was on Tales of Kanzara, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there was all that backlash. Well, I say backlash, all the negative press. But from what I heard from people, like it's on my list. How was it working there? Obviously, I think Abubakar Salim is voice actor who played Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. So what was it like working with him? Because obviously that game was very personal to him. It was sort of a story about his father.
Yeah. So, I was fortunate enough to be approached to work on this game before the game had a proper title. So I met Abu when I was selected for an initiative called Ensemble, which Games London put together. Which again, amazing experience. So grateful to them for even selecting me, and that's where I met him because he was in the same selection and he was on the up because he'd been working with Ridley Scott for Raised by Wolves before it got aired at that time. And he did ask me, you're writing games. How would you? I'm looking for a writer, especially a writer with a black writer as well, given the type of game that he was putting together. I'm of Caribbean origin more than African origin in that respect, but he still wanted to have my perspective and experience there. And I said, I'd love the opportunity. So we got talking. I did some kind of some writing in terms of he sent me some ideas, and I just kind of formulated them and helped shape them. And he said, this is great. Really like your work. Let me get you on board when we get the ducks in a row. And then COVID happened. And then he was trapped in the US for a little bit because I think he actually caught COVID. at that period of time. And I was working for King Games, doing some freelance work. And then eventually, everything kind of lined up, and Silver Rain Games was formulated along with Mel Phillips. And I was brought on to do some writing for the game. And it was very kind of, you could tell there was a whole bunch of us that hadn't been in the positions that we'd been in before at Silver Rain. We'd all had experience in the games industry, but we weren't necessarily all working in the fields that we work. It was very much our first development game for a lot of us there. And then people with more experience came on, like Zy Peters, who worked at Sumo for a period of time.
Yeah, I talked to him last year actually, because Limit Break. So
yeah.
I was looking for like an actor to
Yeah, Zy's amazing. Really cool guy. Love Zy. And people of his experience, like him and Josie Atsar as well, who again, really experienced people that know their stuff, come onto the project, and it really helped shape the game. But at the same time, it's still a debut game at the end of the day, and there were lots of things that we were doing which we probably wouldn't have done if we had the experience or the way or the know how to move around those issues. But all the same, I think, despite the problems that we encountered, and of which we encountered a lot of, it's just the nature of the beast. Games development is hard. Games development is hard. It's even harder when it's your first proper full-on game and you're working with a budget which has been helped by the likes of EA. Again, we're actually really nice to work with. Really cool to work with. So, I made mistakes in that, and during the process of that, and I was still learning how to be a lead narrative designer as well. I'd never been in that sort of leadership position before, and the company was very supportive in making sure that I felt comfortable and understood my role and position. But I'm also a very anxious person, and also a person that deals with a lot of anxiety and has difficulties with things like public speaking and leading a team of people, knowing that they're your responsibility. So there were lots of things which I feel like I could have done better during that period of time. And naturally, during that whole development phase, having worked with everyone and worked within such a creative hub, and I think that was also a thing that we had to balance. There's a lot of creative people in there, and they want to focus on the creative aspects, but there's also the really difficult production, practical aspects of games development as well, which are really hard to balance. And if you get those wrong, then it becomes a bit more difficult. It's one thing to get the creative aspects wrong, but if you get the production and the practical aspects wrong as well, then it really creates a lot more difficulties than you would want to have on already a difficult medium. And so we reached a point where there were a handful of redundancies very early on, by comparison to the wave of redundancies that we see across the games industry.
Yeah,
now.
we talk about it every week.
It's becoming
the Wobbles curse.
I mentioned one week that I was like, we haven't seen many this week, and by God, I wish I never said it, because you just kind
and then it happens.
Yeah,
it was a big one.
It's a big one, and you kind of go, just what? It's every week, in it, and it's I've never seen it in an industry like this where it's every other week. Not previously, and it's
horrific. It is genuinely horrific, and I never thought we'd reach this point, unfortunately, but we have reached this point through decisions of people who generally don't suffer from those decisions. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things where everybody else kind of ends up taking the fall. And for an industry that makes the sort of money that it does, it's tragic that we're seeing this sort of thing happen. So I can personally relate to people who have lost their livelihoods and through losing their jobs. I've got friends that were made redundant, and friends that were made redundant for a very long period of time before they found another job. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. And frankly, when I was made redundant from then Silver Rain, I think I was only like the third person at that point that made redundant, because they were having to kind of change a few things in the structure of the company. And by that point, I'd rewritten the storyline quite a few times, as these things happen with video games. It's a natural thing. But even then, at that point, I had an amazing time at the company. It's one of my despite the bumps or what have you, it's one of my highlights in my career to have been able to work on a game like that and to meet the people that I met. I've met some lifelong friends there as well. But even then, after that, like the redundancy stung. It really, really hurt.
Yeah.
And trying to find my way. And I tried to look at it as a way, an opportunity of being able to push forward in my career in a different direction, maybe, or maybe to emphasize certain aspects of my career there. But I'm forever eternally grateful for the experience that I've had there and the experience that it gave me as well, because I now have lead narrative designer on my CV, and I have the experience from that.
Yeah.
That has allowed me to push forward and gain more experience and more opportunities from that. And now, I mean, it was only announced the day before, that Zhao got nominated for 2 BAFTAs.
Yep.
Which is just mind blowing in so many ways. And again, like, it's such a great thing to have that. And for the entire team, not just myself, but for everybody that has worked on the game, to have that. It's in incredible company.
Yeah.
I am very. I mean, Balatro is definitely going to win best debut game. There's zero doubt about that. That's not coming from any inside track. That's from the fact that practically one guy created a game which has changed his entire life, and the game itself has won numerous awards, justifiably so. So that the debut game has to go to Balatro. It just has to. But the other category, with Abu being obviously so fundamental to the direction of the game's importance in terms of its kind of, I guess, the topic, the subject matter, relating, like you say, to the passing of his father, and the way it projects the sense of grief and loss. And that was being, very much kind of at the core of the game, even from the very early notes that Abu was giving me. He never told me that it was actually based on his own grief and losing his father when he gave me those notes. He just told me it was about grief and loss. But that was, it was there from the very initial conception of the game. And knowing how that was formed and how that has changed and changed shape over the process of the game's development, fingers crossed it will get rewarded in that way as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it does deserve an award. I haven't played it personally, but
yeah. Do you think when you're writing something like that, it puts different pressure on the writers compared to writing something that's not so could have such cultural impacts? Is there a different kind of
definitely. It's I think there's probably a reason why he didn't mention the kind of the very personal association. When he first kind of got me on, because it would have changed my perception, I think, and put a lot more pressure on what I was doing, putting stuff together. And I know, like, so there were 2 writers in my team, Sun M, and Dominic Hodge. And Dominic's a really good friend of Abu. He's also a really good friend of me. We kind of developed a really great friendship over the course of the game. And Dom and Sun were doing a lot of the script writing for the dialogue and stuff like that. I did some as well during the early stages before the direction of the game changed a little bit. And Dom was very aware of the fact that, being one of Abu's best friends, is very aware of the fact that this was based on Abu's experiences of grief and loss. And when we were talking about it, when we were putting together the narrative for the game, there was always a sense of being respectful to the process of grief in itself. That isn't to say that all members of the team had experienced grief or experienced grief in the same way. I personally have experienced grief in horrific, horrible ways. I lost someone really important to me when I was only 23 years old. And that changed my entire perspective of life in general, really, because she was only like 19 when she passed away. So that kind of was something that I wanted to tap into when working on that game, but also being respectful to the cultural heritage of Abu's, Abu's past, his own, his family, and everything that came with that as well, and trying to really understand the nature of what Abu wanted to put together and the direction that he wanted to put together when he was looking at grief from that perspective. So it's always about bringing a part of yourself to the process, but also understanding what I use this term very loosely, what the brief is, what people are trying to express through there, because ultimately it has to go through his lens as well. So it's really being able to try and mix those things together and create something which feels coherent, but also is very specific to the needs of what the creative director in this case is wanting to put out into the game, and make it work as a game as well, which is always really difficult.
It must be challenging. Like I can't comprehend it, because it must be such a challenge to get that balance of making it work as a game, making it fun as a game, but also trying to hit them
key points.
Key points that you're trying to express right now. It must be, and especially when you're writing that. That's like I'd struggle to write anything creative that's a page long, let alone try and create a narrative inside a video game. It's
You struggle to write a shopping list.
I struggle to write a shopping list, but
So carrying on, obviously, you're not just in games, you're in comics as well. You touched on, and a Kickstarter for a film based in Birmingham. So do you want to touch on that? Cause
I was
having a look into that. It looks really interesting.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's comics wise, been writing comic books for about 18 years now. I have a series called Magic and Myths, which I write with Sergio Calvet, an artist from Barcelona. Also work on a series called Clockwork Watch, which I work on with my friend Yomi Ayane, who created the idea. It's a steampunk comic in itself. That's very kind of transmedia. We've done events at the British Library and kind of Greenwich and all sorts of stuff where we have characters from the comic book that you can interact with and actually create parts of the storyline and stuff like that. And I did an anthology called Deadly Adan as well, which was kind of ended up being associated, bizarrely enough, totally by accident, with Critical Role artists somehow, which is just wild in itself. So yeah, it's been amazing to be able to kind of do that and work on stuff around that medium. It's definitely one of my favorite mediums to work in, and I love doing it. I'm still putting stuff together for it. And film wise, so I work with Yomi on a film that he's written and directed called Age of Quorum. It's a short film, so it's only going to be about 15 minutes long, I think, thereabouts in the extended cut. We did have a Kickstarter for it. Unfortunately, the Kickstarter failed, but we ended up doing a GoFundMe, and that was a little bit more successful. We had one of our executive producers is actually Charlie Adlard, who was the artist for The Walking Dead, the comic book. That obviously kind of spurred a TV series and all sorts of different material.
Successful.
So we're very lucky to have people like him on board. Charlie's a wonderful person as well. He's absolutely brilliant, salt of the earth person. The film is very much about. I'm trying not to give anything too much away here. It's very much about loneliness, trying to find yourself when you're in a crowd at New Year's Eve and you still feel alone and still feel very isolated. And it's about a young guy called Izzy who goes on a journey, and his New Year's Eve just flips entirely on his head, and he ends up having to basically just fight for his life during that whole New Year's Eve. And it taps into stuff which is very personal to my personal experiences. Which I won't go into because it will ruin
the film.
Yeah,
100%.
But yeah, we set it in Bristol. So we actually shot it in Bristol itself as well. So we went to Bristol and shot for a period of, I think it was 4 days in total. I was there for 2 days of the shoot. I acted as a assistant producer, but I ended up doing a little bit of acting in it as well as an extra, essentially. So you may see part of my arm or my back or something. I'm dressed up in a totally different way. But that was a wonderful experience to be part of, to be on a film set and understand the mechanics of working on a film as well. It gave me an experience which I'll never forget. And it's also been a catalyst for something else, which I'm working on film-wise, which I won't be able to reveal quite yet. But yeah, it's been brilliant to work on something like Age of Quorum and definitely kind of give me a little bit of a bug for and a taste for working in the medium a little bit more and understanding the medium a bit more, because I have studied part of film as well in the dark distant past of my education.
I was about to say, did you ever envisage yourself when you kind of went to university to study journalism, to do video games? Did you ever envisage yourself in 20 years' time working in the film industry or writing films? Or was it just kind of like I want to do this now? Or was it always something you kind of wanted to do but didn't know how to do it?
Yeah, definitely the latter. I'd have no idea how to get into film, and I studied screenplays, and I did kind of like I started working on one with my friend Barry Nugent, who wrote. He's a novelist, and he wrote a series called Unseen Shadows, and Fallen Heroes was the first. It was like an Amazon bestseller, and he approached me and Yomi to adapt his novel. So we were working on a screenplay for that initially, and that thankfully and unfortunately that never came through in the end. But that gave me a bit of a taste for that. But I still didn't know how to, go into the process of getting going from a screenplay to actually getting the screenplay made. So I really kind of thought to myself, I would love to do it one day. I have no idea how to be able to do that, so I'm just gonna have to park that ambition, and maybe one day an opportunity may arise, or one of my comic books may get turned into like a TV series or film, and then I'll be able to understand the process a little bit more. I had no idea that I'd end up working on a short film so close so relatively early in kind of like that part of my fiction career, as it were. Yomi, he's worked in film and TV before anyway, so that was very much his bread and butter. And I helped him understand the craft of comic books in the same way that he's helped me understand the craft of filmmaking. So so at some point he was like, I want to get you on this film. I want you to get the experience. Which was just like, okay, I can get my toes in the water here and actually understand this whole crazy medium in itself. But yeah, I don't think I ever thought I would be able to at this point in my career that I'd be working in film, and I'm exceptionally grateful that I am really and have that opportunity to do that. And now hopefully it will develop into something a bit further.
No, that's mate. I could listen to speak to you about this for hours. I'm not gonna lie. How do you spin so many plates? That's to kind of bring it to a different level of conversation. How do you like your diary must be mad, like
Oh yeah, like you wouldn't believe. It's
Yeah.
My calendar is I've got like a Google calendar, and I've got different like colors for different types of jobs
For different
along the way.
Corys, because there's about four different. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. There's about 4 different versions of Corey out there.
Yeah.
I wish I could clone myself. Yeah, to match that. It's ridiculous. It's with a vast amount of difficulty, to be entirely honest with you, mate. It is hard at times. Like today, I'm writing a feature. I'm working on a game which hasn't been. Well, I'm working on a section for a game which hasn't been announced publicly yet. And while I'm kind of balancing my accounting at the same time, boring stuff like that. And then I've got my list of Doom here, and on top of that, it's all of bits and pieces that I need to do. And I need to get in touch with the film guys to talk about certain aspects of the production. It's really hard to be able to kind of switch lanes, and the only way I can do that is by constantly having a list of stuff to do, and then allocating certain things on certain days to focus on.
Yeah,
and that will even change during the day as well.
Yeah.
It's some like even last night I thought to myself, I've got 2 days left. I can work on the game and then work on the feature and then submit the feature on Monday, because that's when the embargo deadline was originally for. And then I got a message from one of my agents last night, and they were like, oh, can you bump up the feature deadline till like Friday maybe? And I was like, oh god. And at this point it's like a game of Tetris where all these blocks start falling down in my head. And I'm trying to fit where like, okay, can I move this here and can I move this over here? And
oh, I'm having a panic attack for you right now. It's
it's crazy.
I love that though, because it's like I say to myself now, I want to kind of one day go back to 16-year-old me and be like, keep going, because one day it's worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely sounds like you're achieving kind of what you have wanted to achieve, and you've worked on some incredibly massive games for cultural purposes and things like that have been recognised for all of their cultural purposes, and that must be quite like you'd be proud of that. I'd say that's
I am. I know I've used the word grateful and appreciative a lot during this.
That's what I
podcast,
mean.
but
You do. Yeah.
I am. I really, really am. I'm saying this while touching wood, so I'm not cursing myself. But if I were to die tomorrow, which would be the day before my birthday, which would be ironic, then I would be happy with what I've done in my career and in my life. There's still lots of things that I want to do,
Yeah.
I've had opportunities that were I had an opportunity.
I don't think
like,
there'd be space in your calendar to die tomorrow anyway, so you're fine.
You're very true. Yeah, the Grim Reaper has to kind of just get in line at this point and wait. But
Right, I can fit you in Friday at 8.
yeah. Maybe if my deadline doesn't get bumped forward again. So, no, I am very happy with like the stuff that I've had to do, and there's still lots of stuff that I really want to do, and the stuff which have slipped through my fingers. I mean, only a few weeks ago, I had an opportunity. Again, not going to be able to reveal specifics, but I had the opportunity to work with a very, very big name that would have got me my work into effectively supermarkets across the entire country. And the opportunity fell through at the last minute, not because of anything that I did, which I'm again very grateful for, because I did a sample, and they were like the editor and the agent, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is fantastic! It's one of the best samples I've ever read. You've done really, really well here." But the team of the celebrity didn't want to do the books that they were doing anymore that I was auditioning for. And it was just like, you got to be kidding me. I did everything right. I still didn't get the job. It's just one of those things. That's the creative industry across the board. But there's stuff like stuff like that I would love to do. I'd love to make get a higher profile and be able to work on certain things. I'd love to work for Marvel or DC at some point in my comics career. But all of that said, like I'm exceptionally grateful to have been asked to work on Windrush Tales, to be asked to work on Tales of Kenzura, to asked to work for PlayStation, to be working on Age of Quorum, to write my own comic books and have them on shop shelves and go to San Diego Comic Con and sell them to people there and meet celebrities there and kind of tell them about my books. That's all stuff that 5-year-old me would never have even dreamed of. So I'll never be ungrateful for the stuff like that, even if I want more. And I want to be able to put myself in a position where I can, don't have to worry too much about paying my mortgage as much as I do right now.
It's one mortgage. Just throw a pile of money in it. One mortgage.
Exactly.
No, it's great. I think I've had opportunities to work with studios of games I've played with since I was a child, and you get that. You do kind of walk away sometimes, and you have to have that minute to yourself where you pinch yourself a little bit and go, actually, do you know what? That's quite cool. Smile, and then you look at the diary and go, oh God, tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, pretty much that.
But no, right. Cool. We could keep going for ages, I think, but unfortunately we can't. It's like 45 minutes of you in a nutshell. That's just incredible. I think that's one of the maddest portfolios, if you don't mind me saying, that's full of the most amazing and different things we could possibly have come across in the games industry.
Yeah.
So incredible. Thank you.
Sorry for rambling for so long.
No, it's great. It's amazing. I could have quite literally sat there for another hour and just listened to you talk about what you've done and how passionate you are about the projects you work on. It's honestly amazing to see, because so many people just think it's people sat there writing video games for the sake of writing. They're given a brief or whatever, when actually it's not. It's someone that's got experience within the culture, experience with grief, writing a lot and putting their heart or soul onto bits of paper that some absolute tit then destroys on social media. And
we just ignore them.
And we just ignore them because you do amazing things. And again, thank you for your time. And we will now probably, I say, a good time to hand over to future Cameron, Wobbles and Corey for some patch notes where we talk about this week's gaming news.
I heard my door.
Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 23 of To Put It Bluntly. We are on to the second segment of the podcast, patch notes, where we will be discussing this week's highs, lows, lefts and rights in the gaming world. We are still joined by the ever amazing Corey and my hostess with the mostess, Cameron. So I will start off this week by talking about a game release that we've had, and it's safe to say it's been a good one. Monster Hunter Wilds was released, and Capcom are claiming it's their fastest selling game ever, and apparently 8 million units were sold worldwide in 3 days. That's quite something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Even in the gaming space, that's some big numbers. And it's already outsold Monster Hunter World. Resident Evil and Street Fighter, which is just, it's unreal. And it's nice to see a bit of positivity in the gaming space. Like, it's nice. It's a game that I haven't seen people just pulling apart for no apparent reason. And people just, like, it seems to be people are just enjoying it. And that's good for a change. And there's something else I wanted to mention, that I saw an article that there's a scene, I haven't played the game, there's a scene where a lady pulls apart a cheese naan bread. And it's been done to absolute perfection. It's got the cheese pull and everything. And people are claiming that there's been an increase in sales in cheese naan breads across restaurants and supermarkets. I don't know whether it's real. It's probably not. But you know what? I'm fully here for something stupid as that, because it's great. It's what gaming's about to me. It's not about pulling something apart, or it's just about people having fun playing a game and eating cheese and naan breads. Let's just
I think that's a message that everyone can live by.
Yeah.
Eat cheesy naan breads.
Eat cheesy naan breads. But it's a game that's on my list. I have got a very extensive list, I think, as everyone does. I think Corey said it earlier on. I don't actually have time to play games because I work in the games industry, and that's about right for most people I meet in the games industry. So Monster Hunter is on my list, and hopefully I'll get to play it. So
yeah, I think we did have a conversation last year, didn't we? But with last year. Yeah, last year. Jesus Christ, time is flying. With one of our guests, and we were all on about Monster Hunter because I think it's just been revealed. We were it's one of them games. It looks like it'd be good to play, but are we?
Was it King Kicks?
Yeah,
it was.
Ben,
yeah. So yeah, it's like who's actually got times to play all these games that are actually coming out? It's mad. But so Cameron, what are we bringing to the table this week?
My news is, it's not one of my usual funny news. Is like, well, I say funny. I mean, I did have that one about the guy who crashes drone into a firefighting plane and grounded it for a few days. That's not very funny. But my story is about the WWE 2K25 Season Pass, which releases tomorrow for the people who pay extra for the Super Mega Awesome Give Me More Money edition. And obviously you get a Season Pass and all other stuff like that. And they've just revealed who's going to be like the DLC. So, Corey, you a wrestling fan?
Yeah, funnily enough. I mean, I've been watching. I actually went to SummerSlam back in the 1990s, so it was a rare opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
So going way back.
Yeah, so, 92, Jesus.
That was the heyday of. I would say that was the heyday of wrestling as well, wasn't it? Let's be honest. That was
That's when if you went up to one and said, "Oh, this is fake," they'd give you a battering.
Yeah. Back
a few lawsuits.
So. But I really enjoy wrestling.
Yeah, that's great. And Wobbles, I think a lot of our the Etsy group again back into so the Netflix.
Because Netflix, I have said it previously, I watched wrestling as a kid, child. I just kind of fell out of watching it. I think most people do when they got a little bit older. And I was like, hold on. And the other thing is, it was so expensive for a few years to watch because it was on Sky pay-per-views, and then it went, and it was. But Netflix have bought it, and it's kind of giving it a revival. I've got friends that watched it as children, talk about it on social media, and we've got mutual gaming friends that we play pro clubs with on FC together, and we've got a group chat on WhatsApp. And over the weekend, they were talking about wrestling. And we were like, oh, this is new. This isn't. We've never had this discussion before, because they were all sat watching it because they were like, well, it's on Netflix. Who hasn't got a Netflix subscription, or who's not stealing someone else's Netflix subscription? And it's nice to see it's getting a kind of second revival because the big names are back in it, and John Cena's now a bad guy, and ironically didn't see that one coming. So yeah.
Ooh, on both levels of that joke.
Yeah, that's what was good, wasn't it? I thought that was a good joke.
Yeah, be fair.
So and I did see your tweet yesterday, Cameron, about the season pass. So over to you again.
Yeah, so obviously, you buy a wrestling game, you want to play as wrestlers, past, present, future. So there's a couple of packs coming out in May. There's a new wave pack with Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, better known as the Motor City Machine Guns. Female wrestlers, Giulia. I can never say her name right. I'm going to say Giulia, right? People roast me. And Stephanie Vaquia, and a special celebrity guest to be announced. Now that's interesting because they have been releasing teasers 2K on their Twitter, and one of them was a Prime bottle. And for people who have watched wrestling in recent years know that two people have dressed up as Prime bottles, KSI and I Show Speed. And considering I Show Speed was at the Royal Rumble this year and got absolutely obliterated, my feeling is it will be him. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. Like, where's this next pack? Duncan Destruction pack, June 2025. Abyss, which is really shocking considering he never wrestled there, but pleasant surprise. The Great Khali. 3 NBA stars to be announced. Right, this is the problem I have with this. Like, as you can tell, I'm maybe not a basketball person. Corey, do you like basketball?
I do, but I'm not a keep up with it very much. So
Cameron, I think
Yeah.
your main problem's the vertically challenged ints problem.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, let's
plus,
go.
like,
Yeah.
plus my hand-eye coordination wasn't the best. What do you mean I can't double dribble? That's the only way I can move. But anyway, yeah, I'm not really a fan of NBA. Like, you know, obviously I can understand the appeal, but it's going to be 3 people I've never heard of, unless it's like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Unless it's them 3, then no. Maybe Dennis Rodman as well, because he's been in wrestling. And then the rest of the packs seem to be okay. I mean, there's New Jack, which is... Wow, I never thought I'd see New Jack in a WWE game. Wow, that's...
yeah, a bit controversial.
Yeah, a bit controversial, Wobbles. I'll share with you later a bit about him.
Yeah, please do, because I'm a little bit lost on that one.
Yeah, very interesting character. And then like new characters like Penta, Jordan Grace. Attitude Era Superstars pack, so this is probably right up your street.
So
Corey.
is this all behind paywalls?
Yeah, this is the season pass like content.
Okay, is that?
So you get.
Will you
Go on.
like? Cause do you have to? Is that going to be like stupidly expensive across like when Call of Duty done the
Well,
Teenage Mutant Ninja
I've
Turtles things?
I've got the Super Egg and more some pay more to play as early edition, and these come with that.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
won't have to pay anything extra. But yeah, Attitude Era Superstars pack, so D'Lo Brown, which I'm excited about. Billy Gunn, which
Oh,
is kind of surprising
one.
because he's in a different company.
Mhm.
Road Dogg, Victoria, and Mark Henry. And then Saturday night's main event pack, which Jesse Ventura, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Ondorf, Tito Santana, which this is going out to left field. You can buy a cameo from Tito Santana for £18. If you ever wanted to Tito Santana to shout out your birthday or something.
Guess what you're getting for your birthday on tomorrow, Cameron, or the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy it myself tomorrow. Junkyard Dog and Sid Justice. So yeah, I'm happy with like most of the DLC. It's just the NBA. Like if I want to play NBA, are we going to see John Cena in NBA 2K26?
It's because it's 2K, isn't it? It's just crossovers.
Yeah.
It's
Like to be fair, if they had the football license, I wouldn't mind doing Haaland, Salah, and Barkley on WWE. You know. But yeah, I don't know. The community has been, well, I say very mixed. It's mostly 80-20 negative, but yeah, we'll see who's announced and then
it's
people will complain.
they're all going to complain no matter what. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's people like I Show Speed and KSI. I'm still confused to why they have like, especially Speed's got such a massive audience, but it works. My little boy came into the room the other day barking at me, and I was like, "Why are you barking at me?" And he's like, "Because of Speed." And I was like, "Oh!" As soon as he said Speed, I clicked. I was like, "That's because he just walks around barking at people on his videos." I'm like, "Brilliant!" Now my 8-year-old boy's barking at people because of Speed, and I'm like, "But where have you seen him? Because I don't even let you watch him." And he's like, "Well, he featured on someone else's YouTube channel," and I was like, "Oh, okay, there we go. That's yeah." It's great, and they're going to be everywhere these days. I'm waiting for the day. Yeah, they're going to be. They're mega stars. They're the next generations, like Marilyn Monroe, aren't they? In all honesty, it's just yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see Speed's dress go up.
Be a bit traumatizing.
You know, I don't
Yeah,
mind
it would be very
celebrity
traumatizing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, celebrity appearances in WWE games because they had Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, like PS2.
Oh yeah, they did,
stuff
didn't
like
they?
that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, thinking of Here Comes the Pain.
He used to come out in the car, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, yeah, that's a flashback to my childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's just I don't know. It kind of rubs the community the wrong way, and I can kind of get where they're coming from if you wanted to pay. And there's lots of like new stars that won't feature this year now because of like the NBA, but obviously it's money and money talks. So
I was going to make a very bad joke about like when you mentioned about John Cena being in the NBA. I was like, he probably was, but you just couldn't see
Yeah,
it.
see,
Yes, we're here for the puns.
Very
Bring it.
predictable
Yeah,
joke.
yeah, we
So
love
sorry.
it. That's good. We are here.
well, he's a bad guy now. He's probably gonna, next,
What is it?
next,
Is it a heel? They call them.
Yeah.
He's turned
Yeah.
heel, isn't he? Yeah.
next Make-A-Wish kid is gonna regret his choice.
Oh my God, Cameron. That's us
I want to
cancelled.
meet John Cena. Just throws him down the steps. Break-A-Wish will be, not Make-A-Wish. Anyway, Corey, we can end on something a bit more serious.
Stream safe. Yeah.
I do not condone children being thrown, by the way. Just legal.
I mean, it's wrestling, so anything.
Yeah.
Anything
can happen,
goes.
really.
Yeah.
I actually this week when I saw the news of, is it Absalom? I pronounce it.
Is that?
It's a
The
it's a kind of it's a dot. I'm going to get the developer / publisher name wrong. It's .mu. .mu's a beat 'em up with roguelike elements in it, and they've worked on things like Shredder's Revenge and Streets of Rage 4 and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, I think it was called. So yeah, they're creating this new beat 'em up, Absalom. And yeah, again, just ticks all the boxes for me. It's like, I like scrolling beat 'em ups, and I'm glad they're going through a bit of a renaissance at the moment.
Yeah.
I love the fact there's got roguelike elements in it, and like because they've developed it in the same vein as Streets of Rage 4 and Shredder's Revenge. It's like those are the two best scrolling beat 'em ups on the market at the moment. So
Yeah. Cowabunga Collection is free on PS Plus this month as well.
oh,
for
nice,
PlayStation.
nice.
And Dragon Age of Veilguard, which I found that was a really big pull. Beyond Plus, I think it came out Halloween, didn't it? Yeah. But yeah, Cowabunga Collection's on it. I played it. I'm not a big beat 'em up person, but I can appreciate, when it's done good, and when it's not
But
done so
I've
good.
just
Shaq Fu.
I've just rewatched that Absolute. The artwork on it looks phenomenal.
Yes, yeah,
that's what it's just doing. Yeah.
The visual style that .mu has across the board, regardless of who they worked with as well, is always just incredible. I think I first came across them when they did a remake of the Dragon's Trap, Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap with Lizard Cube, and the aesthetic on that, the art direction, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Dragon's Trap I played when I was like, I don't know, 14 years old on my Master System and Game Gear. So it really took me back. But the fact that they updated it into this wonderful kind of painted visual style was amazing. So seeing Absalom do what they're doing with this game, it's just, I'm really looking forward to this. It's hopefully it'll match the visual style.
Yeah, like I said, for Streets of Rage, Shredder's Revenge, they seem to know what they're doing. So.
Yeah.
And
did they do Ninja Gaiden as well?
Yeah, they did one of the Ninja Gaiden games.
Yeah.
Just trying to see if I can find a Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, Ragebound. It was Ragebound. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
they've
got experience doing this and doing it well, clearly.
Yeah.
So that was a positive week. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, don't you even
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
There have been some, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's moving into another kind of mini release window at the moment. We've got WWE, we've got Split Fiction, Atomfall is not far off. Next week is Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's the first Q1 this year. There's been some big games come out, which is nice because normally you kind of start the year waiting a little bit and things are coming quickly. Obviously, I didn't mention it, but Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 got re-announced, remastered.
Yeah, I literally thought I was going to be in news.
I am so excited about that. But yeah, so we will now hand again once over to our future selves with this week's charity challenge. So Cameron, it'll be over to you to introduce. So we'll speak to you in 1 second.
Accessibility podcast called to put it bluntly.
Hello everybody, and it is charity challenge time. The section where we test our guests' knowledge on their favourite games, and hopefully, if they do well enough, give them some money for their chosen charity. So, few questions. First of all, Corey, what's your game of choice?
So I guess it would be Final Fantasy 6/3, depending on which region
Yeah.
you're in.
Just a
very interesting.
small franchise to pick from then.
Yep. So
Any
I've been playing through the Pixel remasters.
Yes.
I've only got 6 left to go, so that's my next one. And I've really enjoyed them so far, but this is where I think it starts to expand, and then obviously 7 and 8 and 9, 16 now.
My favourite will still always be Final Fantasy X, I'm afraid. I loved 10.
I have a theory, actually, just as a slight, very, very minor, quick deviation. What was your very first Final Fantasy game? What was your second Final Fantasy game?
My first one was with Cloud, and I can never remember the exact number. It was
my first one was Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, what number was?
And my second was Final Fantasy 2. Yeah. I've literally thought, I'll play them in order.
Hold on,
So
I know the
till
title. I know by the
play.
case. I need to just Google the case.
Well, it's probably white and with the text on it. That's wasn't most of it, until 9 or 10.
I think it must be 7. It's got to be 7. Yeah. But it's 10. I don't know. I think it's because it was when I was a little bit older and could appreciate it more.
Yeah, there seems to be a thing where it's either tends to be your very first one that you've played, within the modern era, or it tends to be one which has hit a certain type of theme or chord of you when you're hit of a certain age.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to see that because it's such a long running kind of series as it is. But yeah, it's very strange that way. This was my first Final Fantasy game that I played properly, I think.
Yeah, 10 was definitely the one that I played the most, and
I think I own all of them except 13. Thinking. Well, and obviously all the spin-offs that are on PlayStation. All the mainline entries, I think only the online ones, and 12? No, 12? Lightning? Yeah, that was 12, wasn't it?
Yeah. Wow, it was released in 2013.
Oh, 13. Oh, God.
Oh, that makes me feel... Right, and your chosen charity, Corey?
The Butterfly Trust.
And what do the Butterfly Trust do?
So they are a Scottish charity which supports people who suffer from cystic fibrosis. So, which is a very debilitating kind of affliction, really. It's I've lost people to cystic fibrosis and things around cystic fibrosis. It's not a massively well-known disease, nor is it a massively well-known charity. But because it is so specifically close to me, and also the fact that it's been close to extended family as well through the people that I lost, it is something that I always try to kind of promote and push. Especially because it's there are a lot of people that do suffer from cystic fibrosis across the world, but it isn't obviously one of those.
It's not. I know. Because of the work I've done in the past, I know what it is, and yeah, like you said, it's not quite a lot. Yeah. It's something that affects people, but they wouldn't necessarily know someone's got it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It can actually be very debilitating, and but you wouldn't notice that person is suffering from it until they start coughing or what have you. I mean, it's just as to bring a little bit of levity to that. One of my memories of it was my girlfriend who passed away from cystic fibrosis. That's the person I mentioned earlier on at the time. She used to have to be wheeled around in a wheelchair because her lungs, obviously, the cystic fibrosis affects her lungs, and she couldn't have the breath control to be able to walk sometime to places. So we'd always she would actually play a joke. To the point where it was just we'd wheel around in a wheelchair, and then she'd say she'd love to get out the wheelchair and go, I'm healed, and walk around as if nothing was wrong with her, because obviously her disability wasn't necessarily visible in that respect. But that was one thing that she had a sense of humor about her problem in that respect.
I think that's the best attitude to have, if you ask me. Definitely. So we will now do the challenge part of this section. So Cameron this week has prepared 5 questions on Final Fantasy VI of differing levels of difficulty.
Oh no.
The first 2 are multiple choice.
And
then
kind of easy, they get harder.
So, Cameron, what numbers are you doing this week? If you do 1, 3, if you do 1, 3, and 5, I'll do 2 and 4.
Well, I was going to say I'd do 2 and 4, and you can do 1, 3, and 5.
Hold on. No, you're doing 1. No,
Why?
you can do 1.
Okay, I'll do 1 and 2, and you do 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why you're so hesitant about number 1, but here we go. Are you ready, Corey?
No, but hit me with it.
Okay. Question 1. What is the name of the first character you control in Final Fantasy VI? So this is multiple choice.
Okay.
A. Darrow Thunderlips. B. Tara Branford. C. Dwayne Johnson. Or D. Sabin Rene Figaro.
Wow. Yeah, Terra is that one.
Yep, that's correct. And I'll move straight on to question 2. Final Fantasy. Let me go. Teeth back in. Final Fantasy VI was originally released in 1994. Which year did it release on PlayStation in the PAL region? Very important.
Oh my good lord, that is actually a difficult one.
Yep. But it's multiple choice, so it's a bit easier.
Okay.
A. 1994. B. 1998. C. 2002. Or D. 2006.
Okay, so it's got to have to be 2002 or 2006 at this point because I was very, very annoyed that PAL region games and RPGs and Squaresoft was an issue during my childhood. So, sorry, you said 2002 or 2006, did you say?
Yes, B, C, and D, yeah.
Okay.
Was you working at PlayStation at this point as well? Is that the next bit?
No, unfortunately I wasn't. Otherwise I probably would have got a free copy and I would have been very, very happy.
Yeah.
So I think I joined PlayStation 2007. So I will say 2006.
Ooh, no, 2002.
I should have known because it was early PlayStation, not PlayStation 2. I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's question number 3.
Move on to you, Wobbles. Yeah.
Which character in Final Fantasy VI is known for their ability to mimic other characters' ability?
So mimic was I think it was. So Realm had a paintbrush which would mimic the enemy's abilities. But Gao was the one that I think that could actually do it innately. It's a bit of a fudge, isn't it? So technically Gao, even though Realm could do it as well to a certain degree.
That's because you got it right, Cam.
Depends how you spell go.
Yeah.
G-A-U?
No, Cameron's put.
Ooh.
Is it
G-O-G-O.
G-O-G-O?
G-A-G-O. Oh, okay. I'm sure the official spelling was like G-A-U or something like that.
Cameron, we're gonna go over to a.
We are going over to a judge's decision.
We're
going to VAR.
Yeah, VAR.
Oh, not VAR. No.
Yeah. We can't escape it. He's offside.
A skilled mime. Go-Go is able to mimic the actions of the other party members.
It was Go-Go. I was thinking, there's too many characters in this game which can mimic other actions and reflect it. So Go-Go was one of the secret characters as well.
Ooh, that's a tough one, Cameron.
Yeah, I think that should be number 5, maybe.
Yeah, question number 4. In the world of Ruin, what is the name of the airship that replaces the Blackjack?
Oh God, the airship. So this is Setzer's, wasn't it? So because he was the airship owner. Oh, what was it? Shit.
Cameron's questions are well harder than mine.
These are
yours are like too easy.
He moans at me that mine are too easy, and these are savage.
I think mine might be too hard. We need to find a balance. I think you write 3 and I write 2.
I'm going to give you a hint. It's a bird.
Okay. Oh.
There's a superhero with the same name.
Oh God. See, there's so many superheroes with
Bird names. Yeah, that's really not helpful, is it? Yeah.
No.
It's the Falcon.
Ah, yeah. I would have spent ages trying to remember that.
And question number 5. What is the name of the battle theme that plays during the final boss against Kafka?
Oh, Dancing Mad.
Nailed that one.
Yeah, I definitely
Absolutely
think
nailed that one.
Yeah, I definitely think, yeah.
Finally got another one right. Yeah, that was one of my favorite pieces of video game music. So yeah, I couldn't fail that one. That'd be shameful.
I'm impressed how quickly you got that as well. There wasn't a hesitate. There was no hesitation. Straight down there. So I don't know if Cameron's warned you about the next bit. We now have our 30-second charity challenge. So you will be given a random letter that is generated from the alphabet, and then you will have 30 seconds to name as many games that begin with that letter as possible.
Oh no!
Wobbles has the list.
I've
of
got the
games,
list of letters
we've already used.
And so I will just randomly generate it. I'm not mean. I will tell you the letter, then give you a decent amount of time to start thinking before I hit go. Because 30 seconds isn't that long. Don't panic, because only one person's actually kind of nailed this. Everyone else has just absolutely gone blank and just sat there staring at the screen. So don't worry about it.
That will be me.
Yeah,
I don't know any games with it. I literally just sit here with my phone, random generate it and go. So I'm doing the same thing as you, and I have never got as many as the guest either. I'm just sat there going, no.
And I got a list of games.
Yeah, he's got it easy. So, we haven't had this letter yet. So your letter is M for Mathew.
M for Mathew.
Ooh, that's not easy.
Really?
God.
Oh, I've
I
just
got a
thought
list
of
in front of me.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, I guess if oh god, my memory's been shocking recently as well. So trying to think of stuff.
Think sports games.
I guess there may be a bit of fudging going on there. I guess to a certain degree.
3, 2, 1. You've got 30 seconds as of now. I've just pressed the button.
Okay, so does Madden count? So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Madden. Let's see. What else? Help if my memory wasn't so bad.
I can only think of that one franchise, which is why I said it, because even I'm struggling.
Metro.
Yeah.
Monkey Island. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right, time gone. There you go.
Monster Hunter.
We'll give him a couple. Yeah, we'll let him have their Monkey Island ones because the timer just went as he said it. Do not worry, because everyone does that. It's why we said it, and then I was like, actually, do you know what? That's really, really harsh because it's so hard because your brain just goes completely dead.
I'm going to say one word that we haven't talked about a lot, but we talked about the genre they're in, the sort of industry they're in. Marvel.
Of course.
Marvels. And then there's like 50.
Yeah.
Mass Effect. Max Payne.
Yeah.
Mega Man. There's at least 11 of them.
Oh my god, Mega Man! What a throwback that one is.
Yeah.
Metal Gear.
Oh my god, yeah.
When you can that's hard, that is it. I was thinking, I'm not even on my list yet, and I can think of at least 5.
Yeah, no, I definitely would have struggled for a bit of time, and but now you mentioned those ones, it's like, oh yeah, of course.
It's like once you start Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That brings us to the end of the proceedings in this week's episode. And as ever, Corey, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Like I've said,
so much for having on.
I could have sat listening to you for another hour in the first segment without a doubt, I think.
We might get a part 2 in the future.
Yeah, when we can find another hour and a half in his calendar.
2027?
Yeah.
No, I'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, I think it's, your portfolio's insane, and it's just a pleasure to have had an hour and a half of your time to chat to you and chat about all the stuff you do. So it has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'd love to. I can't wait to see what you're working on next, because it sounds like you've got lots coming out and in the pipeline. So that's exciting times. And as ever, thank you for listening. Any comments, please put down below in the comment section. And if you would like to find Corey on any of his things he's spoken about, Cameron will link them in the dump as always.
Yeah, charity. Yeah,
the charity as well will be in the dump. And so, yeah, please go and have a look at all of that. So, as always, it's been a pleasure, and that's the end of the episode. And I've been the Wobbly Gamer.
And I've been Cameron Keyword.
And that's been Corey.
Hello.
Goodbye.
Bye.